Hey everybody, I'm Mikey Andersen, and this is Fantasy Avenue, where each week we talk about everything you need to know in the world of fantasy football. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Avenue. I'm Mikey Andersen, and this is your road to fantasy football victory. Today is the Week 13 episode, so we got Week 12 review, Week 13 insight. Great to have you back. We got a little bit of a different episode. If you're new to the podcast, usually I just talk about the NFL right off the bat. Then I get into my my studs and the duds of the week, a favorite segment. I know. And then we get into some waiver wire and trade additions, and finally end with some injuries. Today we have a guest on the show for the very first time, and I'll talk a little bit at the end about that. But again, if anybody wants to get in to be a guest, you don't have to know me. You can just DM me on Instagram or talk to me if you do. You can go over phone call. It'll be sweet. So I have a guest a little bit later on the show today. My friend Will. We'll talk. We're gonna do the NFL review then. So I'm just gonna start with my studs and duds, and I think I'm gonna start with my trade acquisitions because I have some big news. The trade deadline, if you didn't know, was this week. So now we're fully on to waivers, and the trade deadline can come out of nowhere for some people in fantasy football. So we're fully on to waivers. I'm going to talk a little bit about my last trades of the year, and then we'll really talk about like this is your do or do not get into the fantasy playoff time. This is where I'm trying to think of an analogy. There's that boys become men analogy where fantasy players become fantasy gamers. Quote Mikey Andersen. So yeah, when fantasy gamers become fantasy players, this is that time. So we'll talk about that. Then I'll get into studs and duds. We're going to do waivers, studs and duds. And then finally, I'll end with little injuries. And then we'll get into the guest, which I'm super pumped for. The Seahawks. He's a Seahawks fan, if you didn't know. If you don't know Will Carlson. We have a first-hand account of Seahawks fan talking to a Broncos fan. This is a big deal. He should be lucky he's not in the studio right now. He's going to be on phone call because you already know I'm about to throw some hands at the imaginary guy across from me. I've been seeing ghosts this year. I've been seeing ghosts in the form of anybody not named Russ. I've been seeing Peyton Manning ghosts. I'm going to be totally honest with you. So it's good that's on phone call. But I'm super excited to talk to him. Let's get into the waivers. This is a little weird for me, starting off with my waiver pickups. I'm gonna find it on my phone real quick. It's a little strange, but you know what? Strange is my favorite word to say. So let's do this. Also, freaking bye weeks. It is late season and there's still bye weeks right now. It's almost playoff time. There's a lot of guys that, this is why my waivers, this is a reason why my waiver segment is so important, because maybe the guys I'm going to talk about aren't the fantasy winners of your league, but they are guys that can win you a week when your best player or when a top flex guy, let's say James Conner, I'm seeing him right now, he's on my bench. When your top flex guy James Conner is on a bye, and you just need to find a Terry McLaurin, right? You just need to find a Devontae Smith. Well, I'm your guy for that. Okay, let's get into it. So my waiver wire pickups of this week, I really wanted to talk about first defense and kicker, and I know this is pretty dang obvious. If you don't, right? If you have Justin Tucker, if you don't know, he's the Ravens kicker. If you have Justin Tucker, you're starting him. It's a guarantee. But he is going to do great this week against a tough Denver Broncos defense that force a lot of field goals. I'm predicting Justin Tucker. Like, put it down on record. I want to gloat about this. Justin Tucker is going to go for 15 plus this week. Okay, I know, crazy. That doesn't happen for kickers. 15 plus. Write it down. Write in a notebook. It's 15 plus. Yeah. Let's see what other kickers do we got here. I really like Daniel Carlson this week. He's the number 2 kicker, and he's available on NFL things. He's available in about 10% of leagues. So 1 out of every 10 of you guys can just go and find him if you don't already have him. But he's going up against a tough Chargers defense, and the Raiders just can't seem to punch it in this year. So there's going to be a lot of field goals coming your way. He's a must-have. And he's going to be my kicker this week. I had the Panthers kicker last week going up against, as I said, the Broncos defense. But yeah, I mean, like right now, I'm going to my third league. I'm adding him, dropping Pinheiro right now. That's the kind of week it's going to be for me. Other guys, the Patriots. This is going to be a showdown. The number 2 Patriots defense versus that Buffalo Bills offense. I'm going to talk about the Buffalo Bills offense a little bit later. with Will. There's a lot of hype, maybe too much hype for the Bills, but their offense is still freaking legit, and their offense is definitely not what's going to be consistently losing them games. That's going to be a showdown. I'm really excited for that. I also want to say, this is a huge deal. I'm just going to get this right out of the way before anything. This is Deshaun Watson's year. This is his year. This has been his biggest media year. There's been a lot of uncertainty. It's pretty, like, they're alleged allegations, but if he did that, it's pretty bad. I don't want to talk about all that stuff in terms of what he's been alleged to do. I think that's how you pronounce the word. But anyway, all that aside, it's his week, and he's coming back. He's coming back on fire. He's going to be available in at least over half your leagues. He is my waiver wire quarterback for you this week. I'm super excited about him, and I went on a little tangent there. But defense, we have the Browns defense, who've been playing pretty dang trash this year in terms of points scored. But they've had a hard streak of offenses, and now they're going against a Houston Texans offense. So I always just got to shout out whoever playing the Texans, because you never know how that's going to go. The main defense I want this week, though, write this down. It's going to be the Seahawks defense. They're playing a struggling Rams team without Matthew Stafford, which is a huge deal. I don't even know who they have at quarterback. I haven't done all my research. The Seahawks have a good defense this year, and that's going to be the team you want. You're going to want the Seahawks defense against that struggling Rams offense. So there's my waiver. I'm just going to go. I'll go one by one. My waiver ad for defense and kicker. My waiver ad for quarterback, I already said. Deshaun Watson. And honestly, your playoff quarterback. I'm looking right here. He's only rostered in 62% of NFL fantasy leagues. So over 4 out of every 10 of you listening to this podcast right now have him available in your league. Go grab him. He's going to score more points than anybody else available. Like other guys, there's other. I mean, I don't know who would be picked less than him and that could be better. Maybe, let me look. Does Daniel Jones, maybe. He's available in about 50% of leagues. But I really feel like Deshaun Watson is going to even do better than a top 10 quarterback this week. So, yeah, he's going to be my guy. Running backs, I'm looking at waivers for running backs right here. And wow, you know what? I got to shout myself out here. Got to give it, where's the applause button here? Hold up. If you're using headphones, beware. Thank you. Wait, thank you. I didn't ask for it, but I needed it. Samaje Perine, what a call out by me last week. And the hype is not there this week because Joe Mixon's coming back. But, I always like to show my receipts. I like to show that I know what I'm talking about a little bit. And it helps my confidence and it should help yours. He had a great week last week. I believe he scored, I want to say 19. I'm not 100% on that. Let me look. But yeah, I shouted him out. Made an Instagram post about him. Yep, 19 points. He had a 30-point game the week before. People were doubting he could do it again. 19 is not 30, but 19 is still a great game that he got a lot of action. And so for that part, I give myself a big old pat. Yeah. So let's keep going. I just wanted to throw that out there because these guys. I won a league by 5 points and I had him. These guys are game winning. They're league. Well, let me back up. They're week winning guys who can in turn be playoff putting guys. Put your team in the playoffs, which can be league playing guys. So we've just come full circle. That could have been a league-winning move by me to put Perine in right there. Awesome. Let's look for other running backs here. Let's. I know. We just want to keep talking about my accomplishments, but let's look for any others. I'm not sure if there's a whole lot you can do this week with the trade window being over. There's been some disappointing running backs, and so I would still say keep rocking with your guys. Oh, I'm seeing that Joe Mixon is actually questionable, so. I would say if you have Samaje Perine on your roster and he's on your bench, don't drop him yet, guys. If you made that choice and you had Mixon on your bench or even if you don't have Mixon on your bench, Mixon is questionable, so keep your eye on that because Perine, maybe that'll be my choice because I don't really know where I'm going to go this week in terms of my fantasy or my. How about I'll go with this? How about I'll go with Broncos running back Latavius Murray? He's doing okay. He's getting a lot of carries. Melvin Gordon is finally gone. Thank the Lord Savior from heaven to hell. Thank God that he is gone. I just couldn't do it anymore. Sir fumbles a lot. Melvin Gordon's off our team, and he's on the Chiefs. Oh my God, it's awesome. It's awesome. In Latavius Murray's last 5 games, with Melvin Gordon on the roster, he has scored an average of about 11, 12 points. That's a good, consistent scoring. I'm not going to have him starting this week, but. Honestly, I don't have, Like I'm looking at my team right now. Mixon or Pirine is not available in this league. If Joe Mixon doesn't play, I think I'm going to go with him. I think he's going to be my guy this week. And that's okay. I would rather play him than questionable and inconsistent Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette's been hurt and he's been inconsistent this season. He's had a good stretch of 10-point games recently, but that's not better than Murray. His last 3 games have not been better than Murray's last 3 games. So, I see it how I see it, and that's Latavius Murray having a little bit higher of a projection this week. So I guess he'll be my running back. Let's go to receiver. Who do I got for receiver? Still trying to figure out what I'm going to do for that little Instagram post, because there's always got to be a guy. I always have a certain guy I like. I think I gotta shout out my quarterback. I think I have to make a controversial Deshaun Watson post. I'll say this. I'll say, allegations aside, Deshaun Watson can be your guide. Oh, wow. What is this what I think is happening? Oh, yep. I just got applause. That's gonna be the caption. That's gonna be my whole. I'm just gonna call my Instagram that. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's go to receivers real quick. Just a fair warning. This is gonna be a long episode. Not only do we got a guest coming on the show, but I'm rambling. We probably got a 40-minute episode coming, which is okay. You know what? I like to talk. What can I say? Receivers this week. Somebody that I really like. He might be available in your leagues. It's always tough to tell because I'm playing the odds like 40%. It's always tough to tell. I do like Courtland Sutton. The Ravens' pass coverage has not been great this year, and it's still unsure if the Broncos are going to get their receivers back. The Broncos have just been freaking plagued by injuries. I want to pause right now. Throw this controversy out. I know it's Russell Wilson. I know there's a lot about it as Russell Wilson. But it really hurts. It just hurts my Denver Broncos soul when I hear people say that it's Russell Wilson's fault. Because I believe there's 3 reasons. I was thinking about this earlier while I was brushing my teeth because, that's a good think time. I believe he's the 3rd reason in the line, and I don't want to. There is blame on him. He is not playing like a Pro Bowl, Super Bowl winning quarterback. He is playing like an average game manager with poor decisions and little mobility in the pocket. He's not being the Russell Wilson. And I think, that's not – I would blame him for the Broncos not winning games, but I wouldn't blame him for the Broncos losing games. I think if everything was going to go this season how I thought it would go at the start of the season, except Russell Wilson, if everything else was going to go, I would say the Broncos should be a little bit over 500. Maybe, what is it? It's week 13. They played 12 games, either 6-6 or 7-5. I would say that would be if Russell Wilson continued to play like this without my other factors. My other factors are really what I think sets the stage, and the second one is coaching. The inability for the Broncos team to come together right now it's so painful to watch. It seems like a high school team with a bunch of crazy athletes who don't actually know how to play football together. They've always just been the star on the recess field, and now they're trying to come together and learn how to play as a team, and they can't, and they're getting stomped by teams like the Raiders who, all jokes aside about the Raiders being bad, they at least play as a team. They have unity, and they have a pretty poor coach, but it's still a unified team. Hackett has just been underwhelming. He's been nothing. There's been no real true positives except his energy, but energy is not it. And my number one reason, I don't want to sound like this guy who always just blames it on something stupid, you're playing a video game and it lagged. Okay, just shut up, bro. It didn't lag. But I believe the Broncos' main factor is injuries. That is a thing that a lot of people say when your team is doing bad. But first of all, it is really hard to build team unity when guys are missing a lot of games. It's hard to build connections. When the Broncos' best 2 players, Justin Simmons, probably their best leader over Russ, has missed significant time, and Javonte Williams, their best offensive star, has missed the majority of the year, right? 15 of the Broncos' 22 starters were on injury reserve as of last week, as of the week before the Raiders game. So you had 7 projected starters coming into the year who are still playing, and you've had 15 of the 22 miss significant time, right? Even Russell Wilson missed a little bit, but coming into that game, 15 of the 52 players on your roster are inactive. You have 2/3 of your roster playing a football game, how are you supposed to beat a team that knows how to play together? Not only do we not know how to play together, but we don't even have enough health to do it. It's super frustrating. I want to defend Russ. He hasn't been the answer, but he hasn't been the problem. Our coach is not the answer. He's not showing he's the answer. Nathaniel Hackett. I'm not for one and done seasons, right? Where you fire him the same season you hire him, but he's not the answer. And if we could just get healthy, we're the most injured team in the NFL. The Chargers and the 49ers follow closely behind. And the problem with that is that they both play with unity. They both have identities. They have pretty good defenses like the Broncos. They have like Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's not been playing great. He's having an off year. He's not what the fantasy projections had him at the start of the year, and he's had his two main receivers injured. Just like the Broncos have had every single receiver but the Cortland Sutton injured, even their tight end. And yet, there's not a lot of blame on these other guys. It just seems to be so much Russell Wilson slander. It's hard. I don't want to talk about it too much because I know this isn't a Bronco podcast, and I know we're going to talk about the Broncos and the Seahawks a lot with Will, but it was just this kind of week. So let's get back on track. You know what? I mean, injuries happen. I like Cortland Sutton this week. That's what my point was. If you're new to the podcast, I swear to God, I don't talk about the Broncos this much every week, guys. Just right now. Let's go to my tight end. Let's go to my tight end ad of the week. I like Juwan Johnson. He's only rostered in 36.4% of leagues. And listen to this. He scored 14, 15, 13 his last 3 weeks as a tight end. You never find that kind of consistency from the tight end spot, especially not a big game guy like Juwan Johnson. I didn't even know his name when I picked him up. I just saw Johnson. Like, I literally had to look at his name before doing this podcast to see Juwan or whatever. Yeah. According to my friend Mason, I have a problem pronouncing names, so you guys don't bully me if I pronounce your favorite player's name wrong, because Juan Hansen is going to be a baller this week, let me tell you. So yeah, that's my waiver wire ads. I went on a little tangent. I have some good players. I really like Deshaun Watson. That's basically the plot. That's basically the point. That's the plot of my book that I just wrote. Yeah. Let's go to the studs and the duds of last week. These are all waiver wire guys. If you hear any of these names, it's fine to pick them up as a waiver wire because they show that they can ball out. Some might be in a Pirine type situation. Some might not be. But if you have a chance to score points that can win you a game, go for it. And this is incredible. The top scorer from last week, Mike White. Now, I literally just said if they know they can score points. Mike White is a baller. Mike freaking, trying to think of a cool name. Mike Shiesty. Let's just call him Mike Shiesty. That's an original, obviously. 38 points for Mike White. Awesome. Jalen Hurts had a great game. 40 points. 34 fantasy points, 40 points against the Packers. Justin Herbert, I was just talking bad about him, but he had a nice 32, which came out of nowhere because his last 5 weeks before then, he scored 15, 8, 20, 15, 13, and now he's had 27 and 32. So some good sign for Justin Herbert, fantasy owners. And then Josh Allen, of course. Josh Allen's going to ball. Josh Allen's a baller. He's going to ball. What can I say? Some duds of the week. Russell Wilson's definitely going to be here. I already see it coming. Yep, 7.98 points for Russell Wilson. I don't even consider him a good fantasy player this year. He's doing pretty damn trash for fantasy. So, he literally scored the lowest points of any starting quarterback last week. Whatever. You know what? Throw everything out the window. Russell Wilson, I want him gone. I'm kidding. But you know what? Whatever. Also, I want to say a quick note on Mike White. He's been picked up 43,000 times. That's what this says on the NFL Fantasy app. And he's only rostered in 71.1% of leagues. So you know what? You got Deshaun Watson. You got Mike White. I don't want to hear any quarterback problems coming up next week for you guys, okay? I'm giving you the answers to the test. This is what my football coach likes to say. Shout out Coach Chandler. I've given you answers to the test. Now you got to succeed. Now you got to execute. We've given you the answers. And you know what? I've given you guys the answers. Josh Jacobs. Holy guacamole. The second highest scorer in fantasy this year, I believe, behind Joe Mixon. Josh Jacobs scores 57. He becomes the top fantasy running back in a standard PPR league. Baller alert, baller alert. He's awesome. He's a Raiders player, and boy, do I hate the Raiders, but Josh Jacobs, he's a pretty awesome fantasy player. Miles Sanders coming out of nowhere with 34. I mean, all the Eagles players just balled. Miles Sanders, I'm still scared to start him, but honestly, I would say start him as a flex option if you need to. You really shouldn't be starting him over another running back. But if you have one more running back left, Miles Sanders is your guy. And then we got Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, and Nick Chubb rounding out the top 5 with James Conner. James Conner is on bye. I have him. I love him. I see some Majay Pre-round a little bit down the list. Ooh-hoo-hoo. Brian Robinson, he's going to be inconsistent this year. But again, if inconsistency is all you can find, then inconsistency is all you need. And he's, he'll be inconsistent, but you know what? He'll do what he's going to do. And then Austin Eckler with 25 in the third place spot. I kind of skipped over him just because he's Austin Eckler. There's not a lot I need to talk about him. He's awesome. Let's look at a little bit duds. Looking for anybody under like 5 points even. Alvin Kamara has been such a dud this year. The Saints got shut out, and he's the most inconsistent player I think I can find. I actually did a trade with him. I traded away Alvin Kamara. I got Dameon Pierce and Ramondre Stevenson. So I got 2 pretty dang good running backs for 1 pretty dang good running back, and that was one of the greatest trades I've ever made. I did that during the 42-point week. Right after he scored 42. I'm like, I don't see it happening again. Don't ask me why I didn't think it would, but I didn't. And Alvin Kamara has been pretty much a bust up until that point. Dameon Pierce has also been kind of a bust since that trade. He only got 4.6 last week. He's the last stud I'll talk about for running backs. But Ramondre Stevenson is a top 10 running back, and I love it. As a Bronco fan, I always hated the Patriots because they were always a Bronco rival. But now that Tom Brady's gone and they're not as good, you know what? Fly, Pats, fly. Whew. Let's just take a breather, guys. I want you all to just take a quick drink of water. I do not have any water. I have somebody's coffee right here. Yeah. Oh, I just spilled it on myself. Crap. Okay, water break over, guys. I'm gonna have to go grab a napkin. All right. I'm not even gonna edit that out. I gotta show what my true experience is. Wide receiver ballers of last week. We got Justin Jefferson, Chris Godwin, he's had an up and down season, but that's a good week with 32. Justin Jefferson in that Thanksgiving game, awesome games. Hope you guys all had a good Thanksgiving, by the way. Gotta just say that. Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Zay Jones. Some kind of surprise names up in that top. The Jaguars, wow, what happened to the Jags with Zay Jones? They played amazing. I saw one of his crazy catches by him. Honestly, he's not a bad free agent because I guarantee he's probably available in your league, rostered in only 37% of leagues. That's the receivers. Some not very many big names, and not a lot of busts this week either in terms of top guys scoring super low. Christian Kirk with only 8, and that's why I'm saying like what happened in the Jags offense because their main receiver with only 8 points. You know what? There's really not very many busts last week. I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong. Curtis. Okay, I'll say my bust is Curtis Samuel with only 1.3. I shouted out Curtis Samuel a lot on this podcast. Not a very good week. He's not holding up the name. It is. It is what it is. It's okay. Defense. Let's go to defense, and then I'll go to tight end because I really want to have something to talk about for tight end. And I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to sound like I'm ignoring that 1.6 points. It's just I've stated he's going to be an inconsistent wide receiver, and at this point in the season, inconsistency can be your downfall, but it can also be your all-time high. The high of inconsistency is a week winner. So find out how you do. The Dolphins with 21 points against that Houston Texans offense, and that's why I shouted out the Browns offense earlier, or the Browns defense, excuse me. Even though they're bad, they're playing a very bad and very inconsistent Houston Texans offense with Deshaun Watson coming back, except not for Houston, for Cleveland, and it's a revenge game, and I didn't even think about that when I said it, but now I'm even more hyped. It's a revenge game for Deshaun Watson. Revenge game alert. Woo-hoo-hoo. What was I said? Allegations aside, Deshaun Watson can be your ride. I can't remember. I'll look back on that one. Let's go to tight ends. Tight end. I'll go to duds first. I really want to talk about this guy last just to be like, woo, I'm so cool. Good tight ends doing bad. Greg Dulcich, only 3.10. That's rough. Taysom Hill, maybe the most inconsistent player in the whole NFL with only three points, But that Saints offense just sucked in general. Let's go to the top tight ends. Obviously, Travis Kelce, Jelani Woods, rostered in 0.6% of leagues, had a 16-point game. Don't see that happening. And rostered in 0.1% of league, Josh Oliver with 17. Don't see that happening again. But the top tight end from last week, my guy who I shot it out on the Instagram a little bit ago, I said, keep your faith. Dalton Schultz, he is, I believe, the top ad at a tight end spot right now that you will find. He is going to be your guy in the season. You're running out of time to add him. You might have already ran out. He's going to be the dude. I love him coming in this week. He's my second waiver wire tight end. I've already talked about the Saints tight end there. Dalton Schultz, my second waiver wire tight end. Yeah, so that's that. It's been an exciting day for me. I might be talking a little quick, a little all over the place, but it's been an exciting day. I don't know. You either live life well or you live life not swell. I don't know why I'm doing so many weird quotes today, but I hope you guys enjoy it. That's going to be it for that segment. I hope you like the studs and duds. We're going on to the final segment, injuries, and then I'm done with my podcast. Woo! I hope you guys had a good time listening, by the way. Let's go to injuries real quick. I forgot I'm on my guest. Whoops. Well, I'm done talking about myself. That's what it is. I'm not done with my thing, but I'm done talking about myself for the week. So that's good. Let's look at injuries. I always have a tough time finding all this information. Here we go. I found it. We're looking for injuries. Kyle Pitts ruled out for the rest of the season. Not that I was any really fantasy relevance. That's probably my biggest bust I've had this whole year in fantasy, drafting him in a lot of leagues. Jesus, bro. Come on, Kyle Pitts. Come on. This is supposed to be your season. This was supposed to be your breakout year. Dude, come on now. Anything more? Justin Fields, limited in practice, is day-to-day, so we could see a return of maybe the most explosive quarterback in the NFL. Joe Mixon, limited in practice Wednesday, and Jamar Chase, limited. Jamar Chase can make his return, which is super exciting, and Joe Mixon, as I've said, keep your eye on Samaje Perine in case Joe Mixon can't play, because I see a big game coming if he can't. We're looking for anybody else. Broncos, Jerry Jeudy did not practice. He's not going to be back if you have him. I would just stay away from, I would say, big on Cortland Sutton, the Broncos receiver, stay away from everybody else. I would say, stay away from the other receivers in that offense. Packers, he'll be good. He's day-to-day. Aaron Rodgers, as well as Aaron Jones. They're both day-to-day. But I don't have any, I have faith in my Aarons that they're going to be back for that game. Finally showed some offensive promise in that last game against the Eagles, who scored 40, and so they still didn't get a win, but finally showed some offensive promise. Mike Williams did not practice. Multiple players on that Los Angeles Chargers defense, Derwin James and Bryce Callahan, two pretty ballers, did not practice, so maybe not the Chargers defense this week. Matthew Stafford not expected to play. I'm big on the Seahawks defense. Let's see, who else? We got Tua, full practice. I didn't even know he was hurt, huh? Well, he's a full participant, so let's just act like I never knew. Anybody else? We're just going down the list. Devontae Smith, limited in Wednesday's practice. He should be okay. Usually limited at the start of the week. If you didn't really know this, limited at the start of the week doesn't really mean anything. Like, you know what? It's people in the NFL, it's a vicious game. You're going to take hits. It's you need to miss some practices, especially if you're play offense, because it's just so much like pound to you. Running backs is like getting in a car wreck every single game in terms of concussions and overall body hits. So you need a little break. Those guys are tough as nails. Christian McCaffrey did not practice. Talk about somebody tough as nails. Just kidding. He's always hurt. Whatever. He's having a good year. He's finally not hurt this whole year, but that was me knocking on wood. So hopefully he's not still hurt. And that's going to be it. That's going to be all the major fantasy relevant injuries. Thank you for stopping in. We got the guest performance with Will coming on in just a minute. I'm going to pause the podcast real quick, get him going, and we'll get started. Let's go. Let's go, everybody. We have a guest on the show for the very first time, my friend Will. Seahawks fan, we have a little Seahawks-Bronco rivalry with everything that's happened this year. But, Will, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. You didn't enjoy last Sunday, but
yep.
It's all right. It's going all right. Seahawks exceeding expectations this year.
Looking
forward to the end of the year.
We've had very different years in terms of our teams, but we had similar weeks last week with tough losses. let's get into the overall, like, what do you think about each game, Seahawks game or just any other game? What's your thoughts?
Okay, well, I'll start with the Raiders and Seahawks game.
Yep.
I'm just going to flat out say it. What in the ever-loving hell was that run defense?
Yes,
It was
yes.
awful. We allowed Josh Jacob 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, and only 33 carries. I mean, only 33 carries. That's a lot.
That's a lot of carries, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the second highest scoring fantasy game that's not a quarterback this year. So we had Joe Mixon's game earlier, and now Josh Jacobs with however many points he had. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty, honestly, I say it, pretty embarrassing. You'd expect to beat the Raiders at home at Lumen Field with how loud it gets.
Indeed. As a Bronco fan,
yeah.
I would say that too. You would expect to beat the Raiders, but you know what? Good on them. They know how to win sometimes.
Yeah. And, yeah, I mean, we even held Devontae Adams to only 7 receptions and 74 yards, and we still lost the game.
Right. Yeah, it was an interesting week. Some losses by the Broncos and the Raiders. I also wanted to talk about the Eagles, another 40-point game for them. They're doing great this year.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised. I know it would be a controversial opinion, but I honestly think the Eagles will lose in the first round of the playoffs. That's just me.
Really?
I think, yeah, I think they're a young team and they're doing well, obviously right now. But like many people have said, you look at all their games, and honestly, the wins, they're impressive, but I don't think it's enough. Even if they made the Super Bowl, they're not beating those AFC teams because those teams are powerhouses.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at their schedule, they played they won against the Lions, who are very inconsistent. They won against the Vikings, who at the start of the year they didn't their Vikings are good now, but they were kind of finding their identity. And then they won against Washington, the Jags, the Cardinals, the Cowboys without Dak, and then the Steelers, the Texans, and then they lost the Commanders. So there's literally not a surefire playoff team anywhere in there except the Vikings at the very start of the year.
Yeah, and in the rest of their schedule, they play the Titans, which next week, which I'd expect a game out of that. I don't think the Titans will win, but I still think they'll have it. But after that, all they have to play is the Giants, the Bears, the Cowboys again. I mean, that game will be a tough one because that's an actual playoff contender, I think.
Mm-hmm. Every
year the Cowboys always have something special to bring, especially the first round if the Eagles don't get the bye. But then they just play the Saints and the Giants. And look, I mean, it's all about consistency for most of these wins, and they've been pretty consistent. They haven't turned the ball over. They've been, honestly, it's surprising how much they have not turned the ball over. But I still think they will have that one bad game because they don't have playoff experience.
Yeah,
I
agree.
They have a newer coach. They have everything else, but there are more teams that are going into the playoffs that will be better. One name is San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco. Even though they only won 13-0, they'll pick up their offense. I know they will. They always do. They're a thorn in my side, but I don't see any other NFC team being any more dominant than the 49ers right now.
I agree. I think the Vikings, the Eagles, and the 49ers, honestly, I think the NFC East is kind of weak in terms of true powerhouses, but the Eagles, in terms of fantasy relevance, I would say obviously you're already starting Eagles players, but guys like Miles Sanders, who's on kind of the brink, I would definitely they're must starts or trade targets like Jalen Hurts, just because of the easy schedule they have for the rest of the year. The Giants are a legit team and the Cowboys kind of are, but in terms of the schedule, this is a really easy schedule. The Eagles, I've never really just looked at their schedule, but it's crazy easy.
Yeah, but honestly, look at the draw. I'm jealous that the Seahawks don't get that easy of a schedule.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
honestly,
maybe that's why the Broncos are 3-6. Maybe let's just say that's why, because they didn't have the Eagles.
Yeah. Well,
let's just say that. I also want to talk about the Dolphins. I saw a thing on Instagram. They've scored 30+ points in the last 4 games. What's going on there? What? Where'd the Dolphins even come from?
Well, number one, they played the Texans last week.
That's true. That's true.
But they did get shut out in the second half, which was honestly surprising against the Texans. I mean, who knows what their game plan was? I didn't watch the game, but I mean, I guess it's impressive. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
you play a bad team, you go to town. I mean,
They're an inconsistent team.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tua's having a great year, but I think it's just a lot of teams like that came out of nowhere, kind of like the Eagles. No one expected them to be great. The Vikings, the main consistent teams like the Bills and the Chiefs, I feel like are kind of being forgotten about in a way because there's so much hype on these teams like the Dolphins coming out of nowhere. But I agree with you. I think as soon as the Eagles or the Titans or who else? Like any of those teams that I was mentioning, whenever they play a legit contender like the Chiefs are every year, I think they're gonna get stomped. Like I think they're gonna get shown.
Yeah, I agree there. I also think with the Dolphins, in this case, they've had some very bad losses.
Yeah.
I mean, the number one, losing 40-17 on the 9th of October to the Jets is pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were without Tua that game, but regardless, they have proved that that they're obviously very chokeable, and I'm hesitant going forward with them, I think.
I agree.
I mean, yes, they beat the Bills. Yes, they beat the Ravens. But they still lost to the Vikings. They obviously they lost to the Bengals and they lost to the Jets. I don't see them going too far in the playoffs, especially getting past teams like Kansas City, who on offense are basically unstoppable.
Yeah.
And are fantasy powerhouses.
I think 9 times out of 10 they're going to lose to the Bills, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to lose to the Chiefs. The Saints losing 0-13 to the 49ers. There's a lot of fantasy relevant players in this game. Like if you're into fantasy or not, Alvin Kamara only ended up with 5 points, and he was hurt. He's on the Saints, and I think the Saints, like as looking at it as more of a fan, they just don't have like a team, like a real like team notion of what they're doing. They don't have
a quarterback.
No, they don't. They have like 3 different quarterbacks. They have like their old guy Andy Dalton, who's more of just a game manager. He's not going to do anything special. They have Taysom Hill, who's not really. He's just a football player. He's not really a quarterback. He's just a good athlete, but he's hard. You can't win a game with him at quarterback. And then you have Jameis Winston, who's like so up and down. It's hard. And Alvin Kamara. So here's his points in the last 5 games. He had 17 points, which is pretty good. Then he went up to 42, which is like a highlight. That's like Josh Jacobs level. Then he goes 9, 7, and 12 last week, and then 5 against the 49ers. So it's like, if the Saints give him the ball, the Saints win, and he scores a lot of points. But I don't understand why. Like what goes on in the Saints coaches' minds that they don't think we should give the ball to Alvin Kamara when they know that's their only way to really win a football game.
Well, I'll just say this for the 49ers. The 49ers have one of the best defenses in the NFL.
That's very
true. Around. I mean, in that game, the highest rusher was Andy Dalton with 4 carries for 21 yards, which is pretty embarrassing.
Right.
If you're a Saints rushing game, that's pretty poor.
Yeah.
But their run defense is it's so good. It's hard to find any gaps. And that one's whatever. But you are right about like the Saints. You think they'd give it to Alvin Kamara more, but they haven't found their identity as a team yet. I don't think ever since Drew Brees left. I give them time. I think once they get a good quarterback in, they're a force to be reckoned with. 4-8 does not reflect the rest of their team. And
right.
That's honestly that's what I have to say about that.
I agree.
I wish they were better.
The rookie Chris Olave, he's been playing super well. I don't know. Alvin Kamara has been honestly a bit of a bust this year. I traded him away in a couple of leagues because once he started just being so inconsistent, I traded him away before his right after his 42-point game. I got a big trade offer and I took it because I'm just like, he really hasn't been doing much this year. He went 42 and then he got 9 points and I just traded him away. And that's been a great decision because he scored 25 in the last 3 weeks combined. So it's just like there's a lot of inconsistency on that team, and there's a lot of inconsistency everywhere. There's a lot of new guys in the top areas in terms of points scored in fantasy. Not really at the quarterback spot. I mean, there is a little bit with Tua, but it's mainly with. Let me pull up like the running back overall scores this year because it's been kind of crazy. Like. In terms of the top guys, Christian McCaffrey is there. Derrick Henry is there. Josh Jacobs is the number 2, which is pretty out of nowhere, but he obviously had a huge game against the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's look. It's 229 yards, but it's also the Seahawks run defense. I don't know what you can expect from that.
If you're a fantasy player looking for a defense, I would not pick up the Seahawks. That's just me. But Seahawks defense, not a super good defense to pick up.
They need to figure it out. They had that 4-game win streak because of their defense, and now they're back to square one. Someone's figured something out in there. I haven't really paid attention too much, and watched any other forms. I don't know. I know they play a lot of zone because that's just what Pete Carroll likes to do. But I don't know. Hopefully, with all those draft picks, they'll
it's gonna
buy a defensive line, please.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of needs. I'm just looking down the running back list right now, and guys, if you don't really need to know fantasy to know that Jonathan Taylor, he had an insane year last year. He's the 21th ranked running back in fantasy football right now, which is pretty dang bad, going from first to 21. Najee Harris, the rookie last year, went crazy. I had a feeling just because of the amount of carries he got compared to the amount of touchdowns and yards. He's now the 20th ranked running back. So there's a lot of difference. Kenneth Walker is in front of both of these guys. It's just it's been that kind of season.
Yeah, I mean, it's been surprising. I'm honestly so happy about Kenneth Walker breaking out. I just wish offensive line would give him all. I mean, look, he had 2 touchdowns in the game against Las Vegas, but he only had 26 yards to show for it. It didn't show up when he mattered. At the end of the game, second and 5, we run it, he's going backwards 3 yards.
Right, yeah.
We have things to figure out, and there's things he has to learn, but it's also, you're right, though, it is pretty surprising. I'm actually curious right now, where does Derrick Henry sit on that list?
Mm-hmm. Derrick Henry, let me look. Do you mean on the running back fantasy list?
Yeah, on the running back fantasy.
He's pretty high, I think. He's the number 3 running back this season in terms of points scored.
Yeah,
he's having a good.
That's not a surprise.
Yeah, he's having a good, consistent year. Saquon Barkley finally this has been Saquon Barkley's first good year since his rookie season. It's pretty awesome. He's finally found his footing as a running back again, coming off of those injuries.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. All right. I got one last question before we end the segment. Little more Seahawks to Bronco. Give me a play-by-play. How you felt when Russ was traded. How you felt as the Seahawks beat the Broncos in the first week, and then how you feel now.
Oh well, when they traded Russell Wilson, obviously that came out of nowhere, out of the first place, and I was obviously really upset. Because of the players, I saw that you guys honestly enjoy the draft picks, but what are we doing with Drew Lock? And, we saw Geno last year. He had 3 games that were shaky. He almost came back. I mean, he took it to town against the Jaguars last year when he came in for Russell. But my first thing is I was sad. I was shocked. I was like, this is the franchise quarterback that we've had. We've had him for – ever since I had started watching Seahawks football, he was the quarterback.
It's been, I'm pretty sure he was drafted in 2010. So basically, our whole lives of watching football, he was been there. And when the trade happened, I was so confused as to what the Seahawks goal was, because Geno Smith hadn't really showed that he could be a true good starter, and Drew Lock obviously had not either. So I was like, in my mind, I was like, they're gonna have a quarterback battle between 2 mid quarterbacks, and then all of a sudden, Geno Smith beats Russell Wilson in the first game. Yeah, and that was that. That's how the season has gone.
Right. That first game was so surprising. I was gonna be, here we go again. We're gonna have 3 and outs left and right with Geno Smith. He's not gonna figure that out. And he plays in that first half, and he scores a bunch. He scores a couple of touchdowns, throws a couple of dimes to tight ends, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Obviously at the beginning, I was happy about it, but you never really know, because backup quarterbacks like Drew Lock, you watched Drew Lock that one season. He had 16 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. One game he looks like your franchise quarterback, and the next game he looks like the worst in the league.
Yeah, I remember a game against, it was his. So he played his first game in and he won, and he looked okay, and I was like, wow, okay. And the second game he beats Deshaun Watson's Texans, and we put up 35, and then I was like, wow, and so that kind of ended the season on a super high note, and then we had the Drew Lock season, right, which is a dark era in my life. Those were hard times. Those were I was going through middle school. Those were a hard couple of years. And the weird part is it was only 1 year. So I'll just tell you about that. it's the Broncos are going to do what the Broncos are going to do. But I don't know. I mean, things can still change. You know, it's not like Russell Wilson is a failure or Geno Smith is like this is a god. But as the season has gone, you know, Broncos got unlucky with injuries, unlucky like in that Seahawks game, 2 fumbles on the goal line, which thank God Melvin Gordon is now gone. He's on the Chiefs, so good luck, Chiefs fans. That's gonna be that's gonna be. I have a prediction. That will be the Chiefs' downfall. The Chiefs will lose in the Super Bowl because of a goal line fumble by Melvin Gordon for some reason. That is my prediction. It's just what happens.
Bold prediction.
It's just what happens. I don't know. Yeah. So that's about it. That's kind of the week in review. Had the first guest on the show. Will, Seahawks fan, love to talk to you. If there's any other people out there who listen, who know me, let me know on the Instagram, the Fantasy Avenue, or just let me know in school if you know me. If you want to come on the podcast, and we'll get you on. Should be super fun. So thank you, Will, for stopping in. This was great.
Yeah, thank you.
I also wanted to say maybe the quality might be a little messed up in a few parts during when Will is talking. We did this over a phone call, and that's what makes it so great, because you don't have to know me. You don't even have to live in. I live in Bozeman, Montana. You don't even have to live in Bozeman. If you follow me on Instagram or you listen to the podcast, just get a hold of me. Again, the Fantasy Avenue on Instagram. Just give me a DM, and we can literally you can just call in and just talk about football. So, again, super thank you to Will. If anybody else wants to come on, but this was the Fantasy Avenue. Thank you for stopping in again. I hope you got some insight. Finally heard the firsthand account of a Seahawks fan to a Broncos fan. I know it's a big deal. But yeah, thank you for stopping in. This was the Fantasy Avenue, your road to fantasy football victory. I'm Mikey Andersen, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.